In today's challenge, I am going to be creating a complete techno track using Mutable Instruments modules only. So I'm going to be using a modular synthesizer, VCV Rack to be precise, because I don't have an actual physical modular anymore. And all the modules in VCV Rack will be Mutable Instruments modules. So in the modular synthesizer world, Mutable Instruments is quite a legendary company. And unfortunately, they have announced that they will be going out of business at the end of this year, so right about now. However, their modules will live on because all the designs and all the code for the modules has been open sourced. And VCV Rack, of course, is a good example of this because under the name Audible Instruments, we have a bunch of designs from Mutable Instruments available to play with. So let's get into it and see whether Mutable Instruments modules can deliver all the sounds that I need to create a hopefully good sounding techno track. I've created an Ableton Live set with 8 tracks. The first track is a MIDI track and the rest are audio tracks. So on this MIDI track I have VCV Rack 2 with a bunch of Audible Instruments modules. And actually these are all derived from Mutable Instruments modules. Basically the open source designs are represented here in VCV Rack. So for instance, the macro oscillator here is braids, the segment generator is stages, the quad VCA I think is called veils, and the liquid filter is ripples. And on this first patch here I have a kick drum sound. I've made a 4-to-the-4 kick drum pattern, and basically the oscillator is going into the VCA through the filter, which isn't really doing anything because it's opened up completely the low pass. And then the segment generator here, stages, is creating envelopes, basically very short decay envelopes for the pitch and a longer one for the duration of the note itself for the VCA, for the amplitude. So let's resample this. Now these are not all very consistent sounding, so what I'll do is I'll put them in a simpler device. The first one sounds good, it has that clickiness at the start, so let's just use this. Okay, so moving on, let's now go for a sub-bass sound. I'll use this same patch, so let's get rid of the pitch modulation and change the envelope a little bit. We don't need this anymore, or this, and this is now going to be an AD envelope. I'll take the full per octave output here to control the pitch of the sound, and let's change this clip into a proper sequence of notes. Just have some variation in the notes. I have to shorten the note length a little bit, otherwise the envelope won't re-trigger. Let's use the filter to dial that back a little bit. We get a nice rumble sound. As you can see, pretty much just a sine wave moving a little bit. So let's resample that. Moving on, let's see if we can make an interesting synth patch out of this. What I'll do is I'll delete this oscillator and go for another one. Mutable Instruments, Plats. I'll put the full per octave here. The output will go into the quad VCA, and let's see what that gets us with the same sequence. And now I'll go through the different sound algorithms here and see if there's anything that I like. Maybe this clicky sound sounds good with the kick and the bass. Let's modulate the harmonics here. If I press and hold this, this will become basically an LFO, with the slider here deciding the speed of the LFO. If I open up this, you hear it slowly changing. And let's resample this again. Okay, let's go for a more synth-like sound, so let's choose a different algorithm. And I probably need to change the sequence as well because it's becoming a little bit tired. Maybe just repeating notes, but with some modulation of different parameters. Let's try that. Sounds good with some delay and reverb. Okay, moving on. Now let's try some sort of a bass sound or maybe a stab sound. Right, so this is a nice timbre with some delay, pretty techno-y sounding. Let's put in another LFO. And because this has some modulation going on over a longer period of time, I'm going to keep this one as it is and create a new MIDI track with a new instance of VCV Rack for the rest of the sounds. So this is a very different patch. I'm using the plats here, but also the texture synthesizer, which is clouds, and basically wire that up. Plats to go through clouds, both being triggered by the CV coming from Live's MIDI, and a very simple clip here with just a bunch of 16th notes. Let's see what that sounds like. And now let's get clouds to do its magic. Changing the parameters here. This is just hours of fun, this. Trying to find an interesting sound. I like this with those alternating tones. That's pretty cool. Sounds completely crazy. So what does it sound like together with the rest? Well, let's see. Okay, let's resample this. Okay, so basically Live crashed on me, probably due to VCV Rack. I don't know what happened, but I lost my bass sound, unfortunately. I do still have these sounds, let me just play them. So that's everything that I recorded as audio, but now let's make a bass sound. I recreated the patch here that I was using, and let's see if we can get something interesting from that. Using the Plats macro oscillator for a bassy sound. Maybe this one. Stages as the envelope, the VCA here, and also the filter. Yeah, let's turn this into more of a riff, not just repeating 16th notes. And I'll make sure to record this so I don't lose it again. Okay, now let's go for some percussion. So how about a simple hi-hat? The atonal models in Plats are actually very useful for this as well. Let's get the right model. Instead of this filter, I'll try something else. This module here, EQ filter, Not sure what that's called in real life. I need the high pass filter. And let's see. Lengthening the attack turns it into a shaker. Let's record that one. And finally, let's make a 16th note hi-hat, and let's play with the velocity again. So the velocity, let's put that through a VCA, and then have that modulate the level here. So in the mix, these are difficult to discern. So let's make the shaker and the hi-hat sound more differentiated by changing the filter here. And maybe the pitch as well. And let's record this one as well. Okay, so there were some hiccups, but I managed to create a bunch of sounds and sequences. Now I shall be doing some quick mixing and arranging to create an actual full-length techno track. I'm going to be speeding up this part of the video, and when I'm done, I'll do a playthrough and show you all the things I did to create a complete techno track. So there we have it, a complete techno track made with Mutable Instruments modules only. I hope you enjoyed the track, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe if you want to see more of this kind of content. In any case, thank you so much for watching. If you've made it this far, I will see you on the next one. Bye bye.